Hey! All of you people who are waiting for episode 666, remember how you feel right now, because later on when you say, oh, that kind of sucked, just remember how you felt right after the intro was over. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Atheist Experience Live. I'm your host, Matt Dillahunty, and joining me this week, Jeff D.
Hi, Matt.
This is episode number 666, and we couldn't care less. We're really glad that Daniel put together a special intro for all the people who actually do care, but the whole 666 thing's pretty much nonsense, and apart from, I don't know, discussing it if it comes up, there's nothing any more special today about episode 666 than
the fact that I'm wearing a Fantastic Four t-shirt.
There you go.
I'm not actually in the Fantastic Four.
Yeah. But for fun, I found
this
utility where somebody wrote a 666 finder where you can enter your name and figure out if you can turn it into a 666. So if we take callers today and you'd like to find out whether or not your name is 666able,
what are they doing to turn it into 666?
Basically, they use kind of a modified gematria type thing, which is part of
like
Hebrew
Bible
mysticism,
code kind of
because
stuff?
Hebrew letters are also numbers. But English letters aren't numbers, which means you can make the English letter any number you want. So you could maybe start with A equals 1, B equals 2, etc. Or if you start with A equals, I think, 9, Jesus turns out to equal 666.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and if you start with, like 138 or 163 or whatever it was, Matt will turn out to equal 666. It's a bunch of nonsense. Hey, there's Frank. I saw Frank.
We had a glimpse.
So anyway, thanks for tuning in. It's Sunday, July 18th, 2010. We are live. This is a public access television program sponsored by the Atheist Community of Austin. The Atheist Community of Austin has weekly meetings every Sunday at Romeo's on Barton Springs Road, beginning at around 11:30, except for the first Sunday of the month when we host our lecture series at the Austin History Center, located at the corner of 9th and Guadalupe, beginning at around 12:15. This, as I mentioned, is a live call-in show. We'll have the number up for you very shortly. The lines are already full, so we're not going to waste a whole lot of time. We're going to move on to calls just as soon as our call screeners get us a list. And if you don't make it through on the telephone today, or you don't want to, you can email tv@atheist-community.org. That email address goes to myself, the co-host, some of the people behind the scenes. We can't possibly answer all of them. As a matter of fact, by a strange coincidence, I had 666 emails in my inbox at one point this morning. It's down now to like 650 or so. We do try to answer quite a few of them, but they all do all get read as long as they get past the spam filter. And if you're going to email, please include AETV or NPR for Nonprofits Radio in the subject line, and that'll make sure that we actually get it. In addition to the Sunday morning brunch or lecture series, we have a number of other events throughout the week that we host, including Atheist Happy Hour on Thursdays at the Dog and Duck Pub, beginning around 7 o'clock. And after this program's over, everybody involved gets together for dinner at Threadgill's at 301 West Riverside Drive. Any atheist or atheist-friendly person is welcome to come to any of our events. You don't have to be a member to attend, but if you come down to preach, proselytize, or provoke, please don't. Just pick up your phone. 2 more P words that one of them doesn't sound like it. See, I see what I did there? Come on now.
Yeah.
All right. And give us a call, and we'll talk about whatever you want to on the air. As a reminder, September 25th from 6 to 8 p.m. is this year's ACA Bat Cruise, where we take a boat out on Town Lake and bring along some snacks and drinks and watch Austin's enormous population of metropolitan bats. I don't think they wear suit and ties, but they live in the downtown area. So you're welcome to come to that. There's more information at the ACA website. It's www.atheist-community.org, and it'll actually be preceded by a lecture at we're going to use the facility of the Unitarian Universalist Church here in Austin, and I'm going to do the superiority of secular morality lecture just before we carpool down to the boats. So how you doing, Jeff?
Good.
Do you feel particularly, I don't know, evil?
Satanic? No.
Evil, satanic?
No. It's just a number, big round number.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of when the year 2000 was coming along, and I was hosting this show, and for the year leading up to that, we did a segment called the Rapture Report that was tracking all of the claims from various lunatics saying that, this or that interpretation of the Bible meant that on January 1, 2001, Jesus was going to return. And he didn't.
Yeah. And it's I'm not particularly interested in the whole 666 phenomenon. It wasn't even when I was a Christian. I mean, obviously, there are contingents in the Christian community that take it seriously and are, oh my gosh, this is the mark of the beast, and a microchip is the mark of the beast, and your tattoos are a mark of whatever, and they go looking for people's names that add up. Protestants have been doing it since the 1600s, coming up with the Catholics are the beast, right down to the papacy and dealing with their titles and stuff and converting those. And there's a small contingent with some older manuscripts that say that the actual number of the beast is 616, although most scholars still go with 666, and most scholars say that it was a kind of a hidden way of talking about the Emperor Nero at the time. So I don't know. I'm not even sure I can really grasp the whole kind of obsession with this thing. 666, though, is a fascinating number in that it's a triangular number. So if you add the sum of all the normal numbers, or natural numbers from 1 to 36, you get 636, which basically means that it becomes a triangle or pyramid. So it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4.
You can hold that up for the camera.
Yeah, you can't see my little circles.
Right.
But if you kept doing this all the way to like 36, then you add that up, you get 666 dots. So neat stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got calls waiting, and we don't want to waste any more time on numeric nonsense. So we've got Warren in Canton. How are you?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good.
Hi, Warren.
Hey, I had something that's been bugging me here lately about this supposed statistic that you see. I think there was a Pew Research poll done like 5 years ago or something that says that I believe it's 16% of Americans would call themselves non-believers or something to that effect. First of all, I think if that poll were taken again 5 years later, I think that number would be considerably higher anyway. But I seriously doubt that poll asked the proper questions as far as determining if someone is truly a God believer or if they're just somebody that says, well, yeah, I'm a Christian, just like so many people do because they don't know a different answer to give.
Well, there have been a number of statistical studies like that. That I don't know how many of them ask the appropriate questions, but they get lots of different numbers. For example, on the best estimate of people who self-identify as atheists is something perhaps at or around 1%, with people who identify as secular, non-theistic, non-religious being somewhere between 13 and 18%, and those numbers are rising. So,
well, what I was thinking, I think Bill Maher had mentioned in one of his little spiels a while back that even if it's 13 to 18%, that's a larger minority than, say, the elderly and homosexuals and so forth, and we need to let the politicians know that. But what I was thinking, though, is I really think that number is considerably higher if the proper questions were asked. And I think that if someone were to do a poll, for example, that really asked, do you own a Bible? Have you attended church since you were 6 years old?
Well, I own a Bible.
Yeah.
Well, but, I've actually talked to a lot of supposed Christians that don't. They don't own a Bible. They've never read one. They haven't been to church since they were children.
I think we're just saying, how's that the right question then? The question is, do you believe that there is a God? That's the question.
If you ask that, keep needling them, that they would actually admit finally that they just know that word Christian. They don't really know what a Christian is. They don't know what it means to be one. And I think if more people were honest about that and forced to give the proper answer, I think the proper number would probably be more like 30% of Americans. But I'm just, that's a guesstimate.
But even those people you're talking, even those people you're talking about, who cares? We're not just concerned with the Christian idea or what somebody else's definition of proper Christian is. The correct question, as Jeff was saying, is, do you believe a God exists? And I think a lot of those people who you're identifying, that you say identify as perhaps Christians without owning a Bible or knowing what it means to other Christians, would still say yes to that question, and that's the relevant point.
Yeah. Probably so, yeah. But my point for bringing this up, though, I think what would be helpful for the atheist community is you've got the Sarah Palins of the world and so forth, and the Pat Robertsons of the world and that sort of thing that are speaking supposedly for everyone that's not a God believer. That they don't just speak for Christians or everyone that is a God believer. They're not just speaking for the Protestants and so forth. They're speaking for everyone that claims that there's a God, and they push their right-wing agendas, or their lobbyists push this stuff through because they are a very vocal minority. And I think if these politicians saw that there are more people in this country than what they've been led to believe, that don't subscribe to that we could have a lot more pull and we wouldn't have so many idiot politicians out there.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about there is more of a problem for non-Christians who are theists than it is for atheists. Right?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I think the problem you're pointing out there is more of an issue for theists who happen to not be Christian theists than it is for atheists. I mean, if Sarah Palin was trying to speak for atheists, well, then we would have an issue.
Yeah.
In general, of course, I mean, I agree with you in principle. It's always better to have more accurate information.
But I don't think that there's.
I'm a little confused about exactly what kind of point you're trying to make.
And I don't accept your premise that politicians somehow don't understand that these vocal individuals don't speak for a large group. I think it's a matter of the squeaky wheel gets the grease. It doesn't matter if they're speaking for every theist. What matters is that they're speaking for a significantly well-funded vocal portion of the theistic population, and that's what they're going to try and appease, because those people are motivated to take action and do stuff. And it's, the solution is to get other people motivated to take action on behalf of their own interests, instead of sitting idly by letting someone else appear to be or give the appearance that they're speaking for you.
Well, it certainly worked for the homosexual community. I mean, you got to give them that. I guess the atheists are starting to do something similar. But basically what I was saying, though, is I think that there are considerably more of us in this country than what is commonly perceived. And I think if that were made more public, I think that politicians would start listening, and you'd have more people like Obama saying that there are, non-believers in this country, to the other politicians that are just offended by that statement, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. He got a lot of heat for that statement. Or he can get a lot of heat for just about anything he does. But
well, he's done a whole lot of nothing on our behalf.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, you may be right. There may be more of us. I think there potentially are, and I think that you may be right that depending on how you ask the questions, you're going to get different numbers. But none of that matters. None of the poll stuff matters. What matters is what portion, not so much what portion of the population is atheistic. It's what portion of the population actually cares enough about church-state separation to act and do something and be vocal about it. And so far, and by the way, you've got the Reverend Barry Lynn and Americans United for Separation of Church and State and other theists who are backing this too. It's just that it's a significantly smaller and less vocal and less well-funded portion of the population. I could care less whether or not somebody's an atheist as long as they're willing to advocate, a proper application of church-state separation, of things like that. What you personally believe doesn't. Yeah, what somebody personally believes, until it actually has some kind of effect on me, they're entitled to it. I mean, I still care. I would prefer that I lived in a world that was peopled with rational individuals, but I realize that I can't impose on other people to force them to be reasonable.
Well, like I said, you all are certainly doing your part, so I appreciate that. So
sure. Thanks, Warren.
Yeah, thanks for your call, man.
Thanks a lot.